PR Connections Radio presents
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. If you're looking at my face, it's 2 o'clock straight up, and it is. And that means that I'm going to bring you another wonderfully tantalizing show where I bring another responsible adult onto the show to talk about raising his children. If you would please kindly take a deep breath and let it out slowly. I'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Thank you. And if you would kindly bring me my handsome guest dad of the day, Mr. Greg Carter, how are you this afternoon?
I am doing very well, Cozy. Thank you for asking.
Well, thank you for being with us. And before we get started, I always like to say to the audience, having children, yes, there are plenty of books on the shelf, but it doesn't tell you how to train or how to teach your child, what practices are specific to your, as I'm now saying, your DNA. The other thing about parenting, there is no such thing as a perfect parent. And I'm sure each and every parent out there will tell you if they thought they were going to be, their kids came along and took all that out. Dismiss that thought. And then just as importantly, this show is never and will never be about parent shaming. So we're going to get into the background of my today's guest, Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, oh my God, why am I calling you Greg Carter? Greg, give me your last name. I'm having a brain fart.
Adams.
Oh my God, who's Greg Carter? Oh, I used to work with Greg Carter. Okay, Greg.
He must have been a handsome guy.
He was. He really was. And his girlfriend played at NYU. But here we go. I'm digressing. Come back, Greg. Come back. Greg, let's leave the last name out. I want you to tell us, please, about your background. Let's start with your parents. Where were your parents born, raised? Where did they meet? How old were they?
Wow, that's a lot of information. My dad is from Texas, a little town called Quinlan.
Okay.
Raised in Texas until he joined the Navy, where he met my mom, and where she grew up in Compton in Long Beach, California. So my mom, I believe, was about 17 when she met that handsome sailor and knew right away that that was the man she was going to be married to.
And how old was he?
He was 21.
Okay, not too bad.
So no, it's a great age. They were a beautiful, handsome couple. Did everything they could to be the best parents they could.
All right. So because we're going to talk about blended families today, for 1 minute, if you remember, not if you remember, of course you remember, where did you meet your first wife and how old were you two?
Oh, I met my first wife in a drum and bugle corps. And we were 16 years old. Well, I was 16, she was 15.
Okay. There's too many lines. That's such an opening for a comedian. I'm going to leave that alone. And yes. You were both in California?
Well, Southern California. We were in a drum corps called the Velvet Knights.
Okay.
So we traveled on buses all together for, 2 or 3 years?
Oh, my God. Did you say she was 17 or 16?
I was 16. She was 15 when we met.
And her mother let her be on the
No,
bus?
no.
No? Were there chaperones? Were there chaperones?
No, her mother does not like me to this very day.
Were there chaperones on these buses?
Well, allegedly there were other adults, but no, we had chaperones. It's just when you're trying to chaperone 200 teenagers, it gets a little tough.
Yeah, I can smell the testosterone in the hormones. I can smell them from here. So you met at that early. How old were you when you married?
I just graduated from high school. No, I'm sorry. I had been out of high school a year. So I was 17, right? Just turned 18. And the day she graduated, or a couple of days after she graduated, the following year, we got married and she was 17.
And did you have an unplanned pregnancy, Greg?
We did. Something about that drum and bugle corps gave us our first son, who is a tall, handsome young man. Got a lot of her family looks and my intelligence. So we're doing well. No, I'm kidding.
So again, we're simply talking about young people and unplanned pregnancies. It was around before our time. It'll be here when I'm gone and your kids are now our ages. It happens. And so what we do with this show is we take it from there. So you got married, you're 17. Let's just make you both 17 for my little brain right now. How were you taking care of yourselves?
So I worked, I was at 17, I was an assistant manager at Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was a decent job, not the greatest paying, but a decent job for a 17-year-old. And then I took a second job working for Smart and Final and made pretty good income with the two jobs.
Okay. And I always like to ask, and it's a funny question at your ages, but it's one of my questions. When you saw this young lady, and you dated for quite a while, but let's say when you first saw her, so here it is. Was it her beauty, her brawn, or her, let's see, my beauty, brawn, or brains that you liked? What was it that attracted you to the young?
That's a great question. She is very beautiful. She's Hispanic, so she had that beautiful Latina skin. Her family was pretty cool because I knew her family as well. And we just laughed together. So we really got along together. So we didn't start dating right away. That was more kind of a grew on us type situation.
So you did get to know her before she got
Yes, I did. I did.
And that bears saying, Greg, again, with the theme of this show of, I sometimes talk about the tequila babies. We know there's a lot of tequila babies.
No tequila babies here.
No. But even with youth not taking the full measurement of what tomorrow will bring,
right?
They don't know one another for the most part.
No, and that's difficult, Cozy. You bring up a great point in that while we knew each other superficially, we did not know each other in a real way. How different our families were, how different our family's view on life was, right? Coming from two different cultures made it a challenge because our parents are older. So there's a little more, not a combination there.
So I generally ask this of the women, but I get to ask this of you. I want more men on my show. When she came and told you she was pregnant, she informed you she was pregnant, did you feel fear or fantasy? I don't think it's real until the belly starts showing. But
so no, that was, man, that is awesome subject because we had broken up. We had been separated for 3 months, and she called me up one day and said, "Hey, Greg, I'm with child." And I was like, "Oh, okay, how do I handle this?" Because I was raised to be very responsible for my decisions. And bringing a child into the world, while it's the woman's body, also required me to make a decision, right? So with that, I had to take the responsibility, and I loved her, I liked her, I cared for her, and I wasn't going to have her raise a child on her own. So I offered to marry her.
What a heck of a responsible 17-year-old. But again, that comes back to family values, which brings up my next question. You sort of hit on it, but here's the direct question. How many, and it may be quite a few, but let's pick two, were different disciplines from her raising background and your raising, that once you two got under the same roof, now you're raising this child, did you have to mesh together? Were you able to mesh together or not?
So that subject is a little difficult, because I have to tell you that I was not a great young man.
Okay.
While I had those family values to take care of the family, I didn't treat people with the greatest kindness.
Okay.
I was a very selfish young man.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to go out and earn enough money, but then I'm going to go do my own thing.
Okay.
And you don't matter. You stay home and take care of the kids.
Okay.
So
at that point, you were too busy trying to get laid some more to work to give the discipline. That's when I asked that question, you made it clear that your parents did teach you to be responsible.
Correct.
And the way that happens generally comes from discipline and encouragement. But you were at that point where it's not that involved. You just paid the bills, and that was your responsibility because that's what you saw your father do.
I didn't know how to parent.
There you go.
Right. So I'm 18 years old, 17 years old, 17 when I got married with the first one, 18 when we had our second one. And I did not know how to parent. I didn't have a clue. I would overly discipline.
Okay.
Not in a violent way, but I yelled.
Yeah, but your patience was that short. Who helped? What kind of support systems did you kids have to help these kids get a good start in life?
At that time, her and I, none. We ended up divorced about 6 months after my second son was born.
Wow.
Where actually it started in the process of her being pregnant with him. And we got no support. You know, her mom was his very Hispanic and Catholic, and I was not either. My dad is a little country hick from East Texas. So the support system we should have had actually was part of what drove us apart.
Okay, so let's stop there and do a collective.
Okay.
Young people moving surely and purely on hormones, not knowing the big picture, not having a sense of the responsibility, the discipline of what it takes to bring another human being in this world, simply because they had no idea who they were. And as you just said so eloquently, you were still being a dog. I don't know if you said that, but that's what I heard.
Well, I never called myself a dog. I've always called myself a pig.
Well,
so yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
And but the reality is, it's a reality.
It is a reality.
And that's why I thank you. And I have this show and I ask those questions. And as I'm listening to and watching you answer them, you're going back to, oh my goodness, Cozy wants me to think of what was I thinking of as a 17-year-old? But it readily came to the forefront of your mind because of who you are today. You would never be that kid. You know, the question we get all the time, what would you tell your younger self? Well, they can throw that question out the door because it's moot, right? It has no bearings on who we are today. So thank you for that. Now, let's get into how long have you been married to your second wife? When did you meet? How old were you both?
Okay, so I was 25 and she was 24. Okay. We met at church camp that I was not supposed to be at, nor was she.
Okay.
we met after my goddaughter threw up on me. So she helped me clean up. And from that point on, we started talking. We started phone calling each other. That's when we still had to pay for long distance calls, you know, with the corded phone and all that. She
Wait, back up. Where did she live that you're making long distance calls?
She lived in Los Banos, California, and I was stationed at a little outpost for the Army called Sierra Army Depot, which is about an hour north of Reno, on the California side of the border.
So now you're not working in the stores anymore. You've gone into the service.
I joined the Army. Yes.
That's right.
That was my escape from reality when I went through the divorce, some way to change my life for the better. So ended up at this church camp by total happenstance. Nothing about it was planned. We didn't want to go. I saw her up on stage singing. I can still describe the dress she was wearing, how long her hair was, the song she was singing. And I immediately said, wow, I want to meet that woman.
So I don't have to ask, was it beauty, brains, or brawn? It was total beauty. You got to know she had brains, but the initial attraction was she was gorgeous. So
and
how long
sang like an angel.
And she sang like an angel. How long did you date before you got married?
We never dated. We met July 4th weekend in 1986. She had a 10-month-old son. I had my two boys. I was a single parent at the time. And we talked on the phone for a month. Then I asked her mom what her ring size was. I went to visit her a couple of weeks later, asked her if she would marry me, and here we are 37 years later.
Wow. I got chill bumps. And again, recap, that's what can happen when you're more mature.
Well, it's
a little bit more of life behind you.
Yeah, and everything about her was everything that I needed in a partner. Mm-hmm. And everything about me was everything that she needed in a partner.
Yeah, but your ages allowed for you to be able to figure that out.
Yeah, we were more mature, more discerning in our decision making.
Sure.
Even though we got married quickly.
You were more adult. It doesn't.
More adult. Good answer.
But you made a great decision, and look where you are today. All right, so we are going to. No, I have to ask this because it doesn't matter now who you were married to, because now you're married. You're in a blended family. What kind of advice do you remember your parents giving you that you have passed on to your children, and that you may hear them saying to their children, to your grandchildren?
My dad had this saying that he always said, I can't, never could do anything. Right?
Yep.
So while I don't always have the greatest self-confidence, I know that if Barry Bonds can hit a baseball, I can hit a baseball. I may not be able to hit, 765 home runs, but I can hit a baseball. If Cozy can be comedic, I can be comedic, right? Maybe not make as many people laugh as she does, but right. I don't know. Her dad was just this amazing man.
But you can't account for her dad. Right now. And so your never could, can't. I love that. Is that something that you shared and said to your children to encourage them and to let them know anything and everything to motivate them?
Absolutely. We raised our kids to first that our ceiling is their floor.
I like
so
that.
They're going to step off from where we've succeeded to.
Wow.
And the other thing is, if you start something, you better doggone well finish it.
Okay. All right. And I don't know your kids and may never meet them, but we take with us the sage advice that our parents give us and don't realize it until we're older and or raising kids or around kids. So we're going to get into your questions, Greg. Your first question that you chose is, What makes a good parent?
So, Cozy, I chose that question because, like you said in the beginning of the show, we don't know if we're good parents or bad parents, right? My children are now adults, and my daughter frequently has conversations with us about what we could have done differently for her, right? The boys, they don't care, but
Right.
the daughter, she does.
Right.
So a good parent, I think a good parent is, first of all, one who recognizes that no matter how many children you have, and I have 4, every one of them is specifically different.
What I said at the beginning of my show.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I did with my 3 sons and the differences of how I handled that is totally different than how I had to treat my daughter growing up, because there's 2 totally different entities. Different mindsets, different mind frames, different desires and goals in life. So being a good parent is being able to to maneuver through that course. And you have to be consistent. I mean, with my wife now, I'm not as volatile.
Okay.
I would like to say I'm totally not volatile, but we all have our past we live with. So, but I'm not as volatile. We were very good at working together to raise them. She was I'm going to talk your ear off and make you understand what I want. And I was the guy who had these rules. You get paddled if you do this, and I'm going to say this in a little humor, but if you cuss or do something like that, we're going to make you chew on a little soap and then you can brush your teeth. But I want to wash that stuff out of your mouth, right? So that was the things that we did. It's consistent.
Okay.
But the rest of it was totally different.
It's recognizing the difference and being consistent with the discipline. Your next question is, I think we sort of hit on this. How much of your parents' disciplines did you use? So you told me the never, coulda, woulda, shoulda. How much of your parents' disciplines did you use with your children?
See, there's a great premise, because with my first son, I used all of their discipline methods.
Okay.
Right. Not a very effective parenting skill. I mean, I turned out okay, but I would not, and I did not raise the other 3 that way.
Okay.
But, I was a sergeant in the Army, so I had this thumb pressed down, and you're going to follow these rules, and you're going to make the corner bed sheets perfect every morning. It was just tough. And by the time we got to our 4th child, which I think most parents do, is you've learned to fight battles differently, and you've learned to only fight what really is a battle.
And I think the most important word that you just said is you've learned.
Absolutely.
Again, right? Doesn't come with a manual. And even if you pick it up, that's not the way that child is going to respond. That's not what that situation is. We all learn along the way if we're lucky and if we pay attention. Let's get to your next question. Your next question is, did you attend your children's parent-teacher meetings? And why?
Okay, so after my first son, I became very involved with my children.
Okay.
Who wanted to get to know them. I wanted to be part of their life. I wanted their upbringing to be totally different than mine.
Okay.
So I did. I went to parent-teacher conferences. I went to football games and cheerleading competitions, and drove a van full of girls from Central California to LA or Las Vegas for competitions. I just became very much a part.
Now, did Lisa, because I don't have to call her your wife, did Lisa play a part? Did you parlay off with one another one day? You take the bus one day, or how did that go in terms of participating in going to the parent-teacher meetings, in going to their competitions?
So for the most part, we were able to do all of that together.
That's what I want to hear.
When my 3rd son and my daughter started doing things separately,
right.
We even had to get the grandparents involved to make sure everybody got to where they needed to go.
Fabulous.
But, that's where the whole blended family thing came together
Yes.
and really proved to be part of the success that I believe Lisa and I had as parents.
And it also brings back to a question I didn't ask earlier of family support. There you go. The grandparents, as you said, the grandparents got involved. Whatever it takes to get the children, as you said, where they needed to go, who they need to be, what they're going to be. It generally takes a village. It generally takes outside of just your home.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that having been a single parent for 2 years and then to move into that where we had a village to raise the children is so totally amazingly different.
Yes.
It is so stressful for anybody that's a single parent. Mom, dad, I don't care. Yes. That is the most stressful place to be because there's only one of you and you can't go 2 different places.
Yes.
Right? And your patience.
All of that to everybody and even yourself.
Exactly, because your patience gets wore thin. You become less tolerant of, and I think that personally, I think that helps chase kids away if you're that single volatile parent.
Yes.
Now I've heard hundreds of stories of the great moms out there that sacrificed everything for their kids, and I applaud them for being able to do that, but I sure couldn't.
Right.
I was in the Army. I got 2 kids.
Right.
It was.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Blended families work when they want to blend. The next question is, what did you do? And when I say you, include Lisa, what did you do to encourage success? And then I put in some examples and you figure out which ones you want to answer, not all of them. Chores, social skills, educational expectation, developing good relationships. Pick 2 of them.
Let's go with the chores.
Okay.
And
I always want to hear about the chores.
And the education.
Oh, good.
Right. So I don't know about other parents, but I'm assuming that most kids come to their parents and say, I want. Right? I want a new bicycle. I want a new stereo. I want a guitar. Whatever they're into, they want.
I'm sure there's not a parent listening that's ever heard those words, but let's pretend they have.
Right. Okay. So we use that chore system to help motivate them towards being responsible with what they want.
Yes, way.
Right. So when my son wanted a new guitar, he had to earn half the money. We didn't care how he earned it, but he got paid for chores. Right. We believe that if you work, you should get paid. So he got paid for chores and then he raised half the money. And then as parents, we gifted the other half to get him the guitar he wanted. But he's become an awesome musician, so that worked. The daughter, the same thing. I mean, she was a cheerleader. So every year we had to buy a new cheerleader outfit, right? So she had to be part of the selling candy just as much as mom and dad did.
Sure.
Right? And then also came the chores.
Got it. And then education goes without saying. Got to bring me good grades.
So my wife and I are both, we're just long-term learners, right? My wife is a school teacher.
That's right.
I work in finance. We both have master's degrees. So as my daughter grew up, she wanted to emulate some of that, right? So she also became a teacher. She just recently completed her master's degree. So that is that, evidence of kind of following in the parents' footsteps. And she is so proud of the fact that she beat my grade point average by 1/10 of a point.
No.
So there's just a little competitiveness
that's
created in the family.
That's healthy.
Yeah. And my sons have gone on to live great careers. My oldest son became an electrician. Doesn't require a college, but it does require 5 years of education through the tech system. And now he's one of the best in the country.
And highly paid because
well, what he's doing now, he's now working from home and designing the electrical systems for 4 major buildings. So so he's good at what he does.
All right. Your last question is, I like this question. What makes you happy as a parent?
Oh, seeing my grandbabies. Hey, let me tell you something, Cozy. I love my 4 kids. I love them with all my heart. But if I would have known how awesome grandkids were going to be, I would have had a dozen kids. I wouldn't have anything to do with them, but I would have the grandbabies here, you know. Being able to be a part of their lives and their children's lives, there's no greater reward.
Oh, and do all of them have kids? All 4 of your kids have kids?
All 4 of my kids have kids.
How many grandchildren do you have?
11.
Oh, granddad.
Mm-hmm.
And
best job in the world.
And how many are local?
We have 4 local.
Okay.
We have 3 in the Salt Lake area.
Okay.
We have 2 down in Arizona, Phoenix, and then 2 in Central California.
Fabulous. And that just allows travel. You either go their way or they come here to see you. That's also breaks up and lets again both of them travel. I didn't ask this question, but it bears to be asked. Did the mom of your first children stay involved with their lives?
Oh, absolutely. After my 2 years, she called and said, "Hey, I'm ready for the kids to come back home."
Okay.
So we actually had already met my current wife. Right. So we drove the kids back to where she lived, and we've kind of stayed in touch. We've actually developed a friendship in the last 10 years, and that's helped keep a close relationship with my 2 sons.
And you were able to, with all said and done, to be on the same page to raise your 2 kids together, separately.
Yes, you know, like I told you before the show started, we have yours, mine, and ours. So we have the 2 boys that were mine, the son that was hers, and then the daughter that's ours. Okay. And to blend those all together, there have been times when it's been a little bit of a challenge.
That's life.
Yeah.
That's life. But at the end of the day, and at the end of the show, you have 4 responsible children. You have 11 healthy, wonderful grandchildren to play a part in them being helping your children, giving your input when you can, or when they come to visit, say, no, you don't do that, and making them responsible and hopefully make them make their beds when they come to visit. I don't care if it's the summer, Greg.
Well, it's grandma, so there's a little bit of leeway with the grandbabies.
That's it. That's it.
Just gotta say.
This is so come full circle. Young people got married, didn't stay together, met someone, married them 2 days later. It lasted 37 years, yours, mine, ours. Everyone came together for the betterment of the end result, creating responsible adults. Yes. who are now creating responsible adults. Generally, the rule of thumb is bad behavior repeats bad behavior, and unfortunately, good behavior gives us back good behavior. And there are exceptions to the rules, but contrary to whomever may think differently, there's a formula. And the formula of being responsible and giving responsibility, in implementing responsibility into a child is so important. If they never have children, they still know what it is, what it's supposed to be, because it doesn't matter whether you're taking care of someone else, just to take care of yourself. You must be responsible. You must be persistent. You need to be determined and have courage to go for whatever it is that you want. I knew this show was going to be exactly what it is. I do love it when my guests say, "Oh, Cozy, that's a good question." A little bit of brains here, just a little bit. I sat and thought hard about what would elicit the responses necessary to share your story with our listeners and to parents who may want to do better, which I'm not going to say that quite yet. That's the ending to my show. So let's get to your fun question, because now I'm 4 minutes over. Your fun question. Oh, look at you. Should have known. I didn't look at it beforehand. So you chose, what trait do you like most about yourself, Mr. Greg?
What trait do I like most about myself?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure that's the question I chose?
Sometimes I'm wrong. Is that not the question you chose?
No. I like the fact that I'm I will say doggedly persistent.
Okay.
So I may not achieve something the first time, but I'm that little bulldog that grabs you by the ankle and hangs on, until I get the job complete. That was one of the important things for me to teach the kids, right? And I think it's just an important attitude of life. Success is not a matter of how long you're doing what you do, or how well you do what you do, but more how long you do what you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I needed you on here today. It's just, I don't mind sharing, but I love doing the show. The adrenaline that I get, the endorphins that I get from sharing wonderfulness with whomever's listening. You're wonderful, and watching, you're wonderful for giving this show and again, promoting, celebrating, and applauding great parenthood. And before I do end the show, I have to talk about my wonderful book, something else that helps to promote and market great thinking, great sense of humor. I'm sort of funny. I've got great wit, pretty intelligent. Yeah, I'm promoting myself, doggone it. They're in paperback. So please go to Amazon, pull up Cozyisms, The Art of Paying Attention, and please support my self-published book on Amazon. Greg, at the end of my show, I love to say to the audience, folks, sometimes when we know better, we do better. Greg, stay right there.